Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beauty Dharma Summit. And I am Leslie Kristen, and I am here with a newfound friend, Carol Boston. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited too, because in this session, we're going to talk about money. Yes, Carol is going to kind of walk us down a path, and really, money is beautiful. Money's an energy that we need to live well, that makes our life more beautiful, and there's no shame in the game. So we're going to chat about that today with her. And before I start asking you questions, Carol, I'm going to introduce you and share with our audience who you are, what you're about. So Carol Boston is an ex-collegiate and professional tennis player, an award-winning sales leader at Fortune 100 companies with over 27 years of sales leadership experience, and an award-winning speaker who turned her love of problem solving, helping, and inspiring others into a growing and respected business as a business leadership coach and change agent. As a professional speaker, she has spoken to many organizations, including Kaiser University, Nova University, and has been hired multiple times to speak at American Express. She is also known as the Queen of Reframe.
Oh, yeah.
So she can reframe almost any challenge and give a new strategic plan to take us into a new direction. Her clients describe her as relentless, making sure that they get amazing results. So, yay, that sounds very impactful. And we know that you are an athlete, so you can tell that you've got all of that determination. And yes. And so I'm very excited that you are here. And Carol and I have a lot of fun. We get to laugh together. I liked her right off the bat when I met her. I love her energy. And so Carol, are you ready for your first question for the Beauty Summit?
I am ready.
All right. So what does beauty mean to you?
Beauty to me is an inside out job, not an outside in job. So beauty is in how we view ourselves. It's about self-acceptance. It's about knowing our value, truly knowing our value, not how others tell us how we should be valued, right? I believe that we have to believe first and then we see, right? So even if we've been given a story, perhaps we grew up being told we were the redheaded stepchild, right? It happens. Or we're the ugly duckling, and we bring that story into our future. Sometimes you need someone to help hold the vision for you of who you were truly created to be, right? It's biblical that God says we have to call things that aren't as though they are. So I help my clients throw an anchor into the future of who they were created to be, so they can let go of that story in the past, allowing them to step into the beauty and ownership, if you will, of who they were created to be, and to be able to stand in that power comfortably. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. It sounded pretty beautiful to me. And, because beauty is such a relative, it's such a relative conversation to each person. And so it's been really amazing to hear with the different speakers as I've interviewed everyone, what beauty means to them, because some people think it's beauty's in a flower. It's in a book. It's in someone else's eyes. It can be, so, and that's why being a makeup artist, I deal more with that external conversation, but it's always been my joy working with clients to really discover and unravel and allow them to rediscover that beauty too. And so it is in so many different areas. So I love that. Okay, so your next question is, when did you discover your beauty?
Yeah, you and I briefly talked about that before, and I believe it's been in stages, right? And I think that I'm still discovering it as I shared that with you, because I think there's pieces of us based on whether we've been through trauma, whatever that trauma is, there's pieces of us that we tend to disown, right? I had someone say to me, a very insightful woman, and this woman really doesn't know that much about my life. She said to me the other day, it was the day before the full moon, right? Where all this energy was going to be changing. And she said to me, I want you to look inside yourself and find a piece of you that's like your mother that you don't like.
Mm.
Think about that. And so, and to do the forgiveness work and release that during this full moon and the energy.
Wow, that's
So
powerful.
totally powerful. I mean, when my eyes were open, just I'm like, where did that come from? Now, I had told her that I didn't have a great relationship with my mother, right? But for her to come from that point was huge for me. The first time I really think I discovered beauty, I grew up between two brothers out in the country. I got picked on all the time. My older brother was not a good older brother. He just wasn't. He helped his friends pick on me, right? He didn't stand up for me. And so I know what it's like growing up as a woman and not having a voice, not being heard, growing up between two brothers who, as the story goes, people thought they walked on water because they were going to be the only Bostons to carry on the family name.
Mm.
So expectations were different and treatment was different. But I didn't start I grew up as an athlete, playing football, baseball, and basketball out in the country. I could play with the boys. As a matter of fact, I didn't know what it was like to have girls for friends. I just didn't know.
Mhm.
And I didn't start playing tennis till I was almost 15. And I started playing really just because I was so competitive and I was raised in such a competitive household that I saw my friends leave swim team practice and go down there and play tennis. And I was like, well, if they can play tennis, I can play tennis. Now, I didn't come from money. I didn't have money for private lessons. And so I would do things that other people wouldn't do, right? I would go to bed early on Friday and Saturday night when everybody else was partying, and I would be at the tennis courts at daybreak. And the head pro used to watch that I would just show up. So you know what he did? And this is going to have a great business analogy for you ladies out there. What he did for me is he built, if you know anything about tennis, you have to hit the serve into the service box. So in order to hit the ball back, you need somebody on the other side of the net. Well, I didn't have anybody at 6 a.m. when nobody was there. He built this plywood board. It was at an angle, and he put it inside the service box so that if I served the ball correctly, the board would hit me a volley back. So I could practice serving volleying with nobody there. And he would let me do it for free, and he'd give me baskets of balls. So I could talk about that story for ages about all the blessings that I had of people that poured into my life in that area. But I was into my junior year, going to be a senior in high school. And my dad said to me, now you got to know my dad's from the old South. He says, now, Carol, you need to get a job or you need to get an academic scholarship. I can't send you to college. And I was so proud, Leslie. I said, I'm going to get a tennis scholarship. My dad went pretty quiet. He looked down his nose at me and he said, Carol, like I said, get a job or get an academic scholarship. Now, you see, folks, there was someone else who believed in me enough that they kept encouraging me that I could do this. And they poured into me just like I pour into my clients. I learned how to hold the vision for my clients of who they were created to be so they could step into their beauty and their power because it had been exampled for me. So the short story is I did get offered some full scholarships to schools that I didn't want to go to, but the one that I really wanted to go to, LSU, to be a fighting tiger, I got a half scholarship. I was ecstatic. So I didn't ask my dad for any money. He didn't have any. I took out a student loan. But like I said, part of being an entrepreneur is that same discipline from sports. When my friends were going out and partying, I was going to bed early and getting up and showing up early because I knew that the only way for me to get better was to keep playing with people better than me. Let's apply that to business.
Right.
If the business people you're hanging out with, you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. You're in the wrong room. I used to stay after tennis practice at LSU, and obviously the guys were much bigger than the girls. They served the ball a lot harder. And I had made a friend, Steve, and he would get a basket of balls. And I would stay out there. Leslie, I would get bruised sometimes. The ball would come so fast. Not only could I not return it, I couldn't get out of the way. But I knew as long as I kept doing that, I'd get better. And the moral to that story is by the beginning of my sophomore year, I had moved up from playing number 6 to playing number 2. Before the year was over, I played number one, and I went from having a half scholarship to having a full scholarship.
Wow.
You got to hang in there. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to see the beauty in doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And often I find that we're looking for something new to do, or we're looking for that next quick big fix because it looks shinier and prettier.
Yeah.
But there's beauty in mastering the simple things. And often in business, and you talk about money, often when we're trying to make money, we're looking for it to be easy, or looking for it to be exciting, when sometimes it's doing the things that we already know to do that we're not doing on a consistent basis. That was my first foray really into seeing my own beauty, and that I could do something, that I had something beautiful inside of me. It happened again when I trusted someone else's vision for me. That's how I got to Florida and got into sales. I had no idea I was a salesperson. That story's too long for today. Great story. And it's also how I became a professional speaker, was trusting in someone else's vision for me. And so I love holding that vision for my clients. And you talk about money. Oftentimes we have these old files running in our head that we don't know. So let's go back to 2006. I walked into the bank one day, and Miss Chan, she was from China. She's this little bitty lady, loved this woman. And I walked in and she goes, now I can't do her accent like I can do my dad's, okay? But she says, there's Carol, our next millionaire. Do you know what the first thing that came out of my mouth was? This is 2006. I said, oh, no, I'm not a millionaire. Now that same week, Leslie, I used to collect wine, and I went to ABC. I had a couple of wine vaults at ABC, and the head sommelier there, I called him Uncle Fred. I was niece Carol and he was Uncle Fred. So I went in there to get some wine out of my vault, and there was another man in there, and Uncle Fred said, you got to meet Carol, our next millionaire. And I said, no, I'm not a millionaire. I want you to think about that. It was so automatic. Now, fast forward 10 years to 2016, and I got into a millionaire mindset mastermind. And I realized that I self-sabotaged. I could have been a millionaire in 2006, and I self-sabotaged that. Not intentionally, but my dad's voice was in my head. You can't be a Christian and have that much money. Nobody needs that much money. You're just greedy if you have that much money. Ooh. And I had to do the work, the deep work. And that's how I can help my clients. I think it's uncanny that I help my clients double and triple their income now, right? But I had to go through that to understand what it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love the moniker Queen of Reframe, because a lot of it has to do with mindset mastery.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And like you said before about stepping into the future, yes, and letting go of that past, because that's all what holds us back from even allowing abundance into our life.
You're so true. That I work with my clients in 5 areas, but the first one always is clarity. And I would tell you, Leslie, there hasn't been a single person that sat in front of me, whether they hired me or not, that knew who they were truly created to be. So will you indulge me in a quick client story?
Sure. Love those.
So I was hired, this is back in January 2018, February. And interestingly enough, let me tell you how I got this client. I went to a big mega mixer. I did everything networking. I'm the girl who wants to shake your hand and give you a big hug, right? COVID has changed all that, which is why I'm online now. But that's how I got all my clients. I'm at this mega mixer. This lady walks up to me, and she was taller than me, and introduces her. Now, I don't know what I asked her. I don't know what question I asked her, but she answered. This is what I did. I reached in my pocket, Leslie, true story. I got my business card out, and I looked at her and I said, oh, honey, you have serious boundary issues. I can help you with that. You need to come see me. And I gave her my card. 2 weeks later, she came to see me, and she became a client. Now, when I talk about, she was a female family lawyer, owned her own practice for 4 years. When I talk about the clarity piece and owning your value and owning your beauty, I help my clients create and craft specific statements just for them. And one of the statements for her was, I am a powerful CEO of a fast-growing law firm. She couldn't say it. She couldn't even spit it out. She goes, my company, what do you think I'm here for, Carol? My company's not growing, much less fast growing. I don't feel very powerful. But remember, folks, we have to call things that aren't as though they are so that we can step into them. So what I did is I gave her a little sentence before that. This is a writer downer for your audience. I give myself permission to consider that I'm a powerful CEO of a fast-growing law firm. That's where she started. I don't remember if it took 10 or 12 weeks, but one day, Leslie, she walks in my office, she's standing tall, and she says, I'm a powerful CEO of a fast-growing law firm. I'm like jumping out of my chair. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Now, it's not on my new website yet, but you will see one of her testimonials is she got more clients in 6 months of working with me than she had in the first 4 years of her practice.
Wow. Wow.
A part of that was her owning that she was a powerful CEO of what? A fast growing law firm.
Mm-hmm.
There was other work that we did, but we have to know our value so that we can own our power. There's tremendous beauty in that.
Mm-hmm.
This same woman actually posted something on Facebook the other day. She had a client who was trying to get her to do work for him, even though he wasn't paying her any more money. And she was frustrated. She posted this whole thing on Facebook. And I was so proud of her. She told him no. She told him, as soon as you pay me the money, I'm happy to go do blah, blah, blah for you. And I was like, way to go, girl. Boundaries. I help my clients get really comfortable with their no, because when you get comfortable with your no, your yes becomes way more valuable. And she reached back and she's like, it made me feel good, of course. She goes, I wouldn't have done it without you, right? She now knows that it's good to say no. It's good to have boundaries and to be proud of who she is and stand in that.
Absolutely. Especially, and this audience is primarily female.
Yes.
We have challenges with that. We have a lot of challenges with either saying no or not, especially for clients that maybe are like 40 on up. Like you were saying about your dad, like it's not, it's not good to spend so much money on yourself, or that's frivolous, or oh my gosh, getting a facial or a manicure is a luxury, it shouldn't be a necessity. It's a necessity. Having ugly nails or ugly toes is not a pretty thing. We deserve to look at ourselves and and feel good.
Yes.
Feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm not saying that it's something you have to do, but we all see whatever it is that that makes us feel good. And that, like you're saying, you're tapping into that. You knew what you wanted to be, or where you wanted to go within your resources, and you knew
Yes.
what you needed to do. Now, of course, you're an athlete, and I was speaking to my other client where I am not an athlete. I am an artist. For me, my ideal thing is having an espresso and a cocktail in Paris. I mean, it is definitely not working out. We're
I
talking
enjoy
art.
that too.
That is beauty to me. Walking through Paris
Yeah.
with that, like you were saying, what would it be like to be able to spend all this money and not have to and be able to do it, right? So that would be my absolute dream. And so having these learning this discipline, like you're saying, being around people, I'm fascinated with an athlete mindset because it's
Mm.
very different. uh,
Yes.
it's kind of like men and women, we just don't think the same way.
Right.
And it's great to be able to, because there is a discipline within Dharma, and
Mm-hmm.
several speakers that have been sharing it. What is that why? What is that purpose? And there's a discipline there to to get your life where you want it to go and be able to change and renew, like you're saying, that reframe. It's
Yes.
so much easier for us to look at someone else and go, oh, that's a hot mess over there, than looking at our own hot mess, right?
Well, you bring up a good point, and it's often when I was giving a talk, it was a women's leadership talk, and I said, by show of hands, how many of you have ever heard someone say, "Ugh, that woman, she's just a bitch," and a few hands went up, and then I said, how many of you have actually thought that or said that yourself? This is really important. Almost all the hands went up, and I said, if that's your thought, that powerful woman is a bitch, you will never be a powerful owner of your own company, because you will never go after what you believe is negative.
Mm,
Think about that. If you've decided that a powerful woman is a bitch because we assign negative
right,
value to that language,
right. Hmm.
well, you're not going to want to be one of those, are you? And if you're not going to want to be one of those, then you're not going to be a powerful owner of your own company. Nothing has meaning in this world except that which we give it. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Hmm.
And, I talk to people and my clients all the time, and I'll say, who's patting you on the back? They kind of look at me. No, no. Who's How I would phrase it for your audience in Dharma is you have to fill your cup first and give to others from your overflow. And oftentimes when we go into entrepreneurship, we're looking for our family and our friends to bolster us and build us up and believe in us. And oftentimes those are the ones who don't. Maybe they're afraid for us. Maybe they don't want us to fail, or maybe they're just scared because they don't understand. But here's the thing. If you have a vision and a purpose and you know your why,
Right.
you must understand that God didn't give your vision to your family. He gave it to you. It's your job to surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and believe in you. And that's why coming into a community like yours,
Hmm.
right? And being a member of your tribe. I mean, it's amazing that you're putting on this summit about beauty, where women can come and gravitate and get that from you and in your community on a regular basis, because we all need that. But we also need to be able to look in the mirror and go, good job, Carol. Good job, Leslie, right? Who's patting you on the back?
Yeah.
Because we teach other people how to treat us. It's that simple. And if we're not respecting ourselves, if we're not celebrating ourselves, we can't expect other people to do it. We teach people how to treat us.
Hmm.
I mean, a very difficult, ugly example for me in my life was I was in my last relationship was very toxic. And I can't begin to tell you how many times I said, stop disrespecting me. But her behavior never changed. But the day came when I was standing there after saying, stop disrespecting me. And I realized it was never going to stop because there was no consequences to her behavior.
Hmm.
And there was no consequences because I was the one that was disrespecting me by tolerating how she treated me.
Hmm.
Right. So I had to learn that I was teaching her it was okay to do that to me. Trust me, folks. Having solid boundaries is healthy, and you need to be aware that the people that are going to get upset with you when you finally start having solid boundaries are the people who benefited by you not having them. You
Can
just
you
got to know.
repeat that one more time, Carol? Because that is some gold right there. Please repeat that, just in case we weren't listening.
And it's so true. The only people that are going to get upset with you when you set healthy, solid boundaries for you are the people that were benefiting by you not having them. Trust me, when I started setting that boundary, all hell broke out loose on the other side,
Hmm.
because then that same behavior no longer became okay. And there were consequences. It's true.
Absolutely. And that's just part of growth. That's
Yes.
part of, where we get to explore
Yes.
who we are. And, that relationship didn't serve you anymore. So you need
No.
to move on to another one. And it's okay. It's
Yes.
absolutely okay. It's like redecorating your home, something that you've enjoyed for a long time,
Yes.
maybe needs some new upholstery, or
Mm.
maybe needs some fresh flowers to bring in, or that unattended bank account needs some more love.
Ab- absolutely. And when you talk about money, right? And we talk about mindset, and I told you the shifts that I had to make.
Mhm.
People often assign a negative value to money based on the way they were raised,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's what I did. And that's what I still help people with. Oh, well, I can't charge that much. Well, let's talk about your value, right? I had a client, I still have this client. When she hired me, she was an unhappy person. And she said to me, this was before she actually signed up with me. And she said, I've invested this much money in this, and in me, and I should be able to charge this much. And I just kind of worked around that. We got her signed up, and I kind of leaned into the Zoom after she signed up. And I said, I'm going to tell you something you may not like. And she said, what? And I said, you don't charge people for how much money you've invested in you. People are going to pay you for two main things. They're going to pay you for speed to get them to where they say they want to go faster, and for value. And you don't even know who you are. And she kind of looked at me, and we started working together. She had a 1-week jump starter program. She's over in London, so it was 100 pounds. And it was a jump starter into a longer program. And she was giving away a 1-hour bonus of her own time for this 100 pounds. She was frustrated as hell. She couldn't sell it. So we start working together. 5 weeks goes by. I get an email from her, and it starts off, Dear Carol, which I love, right? I'm from the Deep South. It's, we call you Miss Carol, Mr. John, Miss Leslie, right? It's just that formality thing, which I love. And she calls me Dear Carol. She says, OMG, I'm dancing with you and I'm celebrating with you. I just sold that same 1-week jump starter program for 500 pounds and no bonus. Now I want you to think about that. She quintupled what she was charging for it and got rid of the bonus, and she was selling it. Mindset mastery. It's about being the queen of reframe and helping her know her value so she could own her power. And then she could charge for her value and get it.
Mhm.
So there's beauty in being able to do that.
Sure.
Right. And honestly, faith is my foundation. I haven't read the Bible front to back, so I don't know how many times it's in the Bible that money's good, but it's in the Bible a lot. I mean, we could ask Joel Osteen or Joyce Meyer. Somebody else knows. I don't know how many times, but I know it's in there a lot, right?
I love that. That is a Southern sweet concept right there. Some people don't read the Bible, but money is still good, whether
Yes.
whether you're Hindu or Buddhist or
Yes.
Christian, or allowing. And some people, there's a comfort with not needing to have. I mean, that was one thing when I started my business. I had to really reduce my expenses because I funded my own business. You know, I funded my own business. So I had to really look at, and for 2 years did not draw a cent from my business. So there, and I like nice things. you know, you have bills, you have this, you have that. So it's really just something I feel, because I've had a lot of lessons with money in my life,
Mm.
a lot of them with parents, with a lot of things. And uh, I think one of the biggest lessons that I have received in my life on how people have what they've taught me is that I will not compromise my integrity to make money ever,
Mm.
ever.
Absolutely.
That is probably the biggest lesson that I have, because I've seen people just do the wrong things and sacrifice their integrity, their their joy, their happiness, thinking that it's okay to do things so I can make money. And that's a really expensive cost to pay.
It is. And as Joyce would say, you either pay now or you pay later on,
Yeah.
but you always pay. And at that point, she was actually talking about discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And the example she gave is that her husband, Dave, is disciplined. They're in their 70s now, but he still's in the gym 3 days a week. He goes for his walks. He does his thing. And for many, many, many years, she didn't, right? She used to smoke. She doesn't anymore. She used to, overeat and all these kind of things. And she said, I paid the pain later on. Dave is never going to have to pay that pain because he was willing to pay the pain of discipline up front.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing in our business. And you made me think of something with your last statement is there's power in choice.
Mm-hmm.
You get to ask yourself, what am I choosing? And the point of power is always in the present moment. So you can even ask yourself, if those negative thoughts about money come up, wait a minute, what am I choosing to believe in this moment? Right? Who am I choosing to be and what am I choosing to believe? Because oftentimes we carry things forward with us and they served a purpose in our life. They did.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, my thoughts about money served a purpose. I didn't have a penny of debt until I was 45. Something happened at 45, midlife crisis or something, right? But that was because of what my parents taught me about money. If I didn't have cash, I didn't buy it, right? We get to a point sometimes we have to learn that certain things no longer serve us. It's not that they're bad. We don't have to put judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bad person, I got into debt, or I was a good person because I didn't. It's about, does that thought process or does that value still serve me today? And so oftentimes we need to let go of things that no longer serve us. It's the same thing. I say to people when they say, yeah, I know I really need to coach Carol, but I don't have time. And my question, I said, okay, so you don't have time. And they say, no, I just don't have time. I'm too busy. And I said, I'll ask them. This is a very empowering question for all of your audience. What one thing, just one, what one thing am I doing on a regular basis that no longer serves me that I could give up and do the things that will get me to where I say I want to go? What one thing? Because we all have something.
Yeah.
Right? And oftentimes we will do something and we'll say, God, I wish I wouldn't do that. Right? But think about this. No human being does anything repetitively without getting a payoff. Now, don't be deceived. Payoffs are not always positive. Going to the gym repetitively is a positive payoff. There are other things that you can do that are not getting you a positive payoff, but they're getting you a payoff and they keep you in that familiarity zone.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you've heard the cliche before, until the pain of staying there becomes greater than the pain of change, people won't change. So you have to ask yourself as an entrepreneur, what am I willing to change? What am I willing to give up to have everything I say I want to have? And I share that with people, and I share it in this way. People say I'm committed, right? I'm committed to grow my business, aren't they? Right? There's a big difference between being committed and being convicted. And here's what it is.
Ooh, I like that.
There's a big difference because people decommit every day, don't they? Right? Every day they say, I'm committed to this marriage for life until the day I'm not. Right? Or I'm committed to losing this 20 pounds. And then it becomes next Monday, next month, next year. Here's a writer downer for your folks. Every time you don't keep your word to yourself, you are eroding self-trust. Every time. But the difference between commitment and conviction is when you are convicted, you will not rest until you get it done. And you have to realize that your conviction and your comfort and your convenience don't live on the same block. They're not even in the same zip code. So what are you willing to get uncomfortable and be convicted to do to get everything you say you want to have? Ask yourself that question. Yeah. On those days when you say it's too tired, or I'm sorry, it's too hard, or I'm too tired, right? Mm-hmm. What are you convicted to do?
Convicted and committed.
Big difference.
Yeah. Well, Carol, I was going to ask you, what could you leave the audience with? But I think that one question was it. Now, what is one thing that people can do to generate more money in their life besides that?
Well,
What would you share with?
the first thing I'm going to tell you is it's not to always work harder. That's a misnomer. It isn't about working harder. And it's not always, Leslie, about making more money. It's about how much money are you keeping of the money that you already make.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to have gross revenues, but how much are you profiting?
Yeah.
Because when you can do that, oftentimes you actually will find a way that you actually have more money than you thought you had. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about making more money, the one thing I would tell you, if you don't have a coach, find a good coach. Because 9 times out of 10, it's about mindset. I tell people you can't read the label when you're inside the jar, and we're all in a jar.
I like that.
But I can read your label and I can help you write a new label, right?
Change ingredients.
2021, new year, new label, new you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what 2021 is about. But from a money perspective, I would have you ask yourself every day, what one thing? And I teach on empowering questions. We don't have time to go there. I teach on them in corporate America and I use them with my clients. But just so that you know, empowering questions, you're asking for something specific,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're keeping it in a time frame. And the caveat is you do not sit around and try to figure it out. You're telling God in the universe, I'm open to seeing, doing, saying, or having something that I've never thought of before. These kind of questions are what give you those Oprah aha moments, right? We attribute them to Oprah, but it's really about empowering questions. So you could ask yourself every day, what one thing, you could say it a couple of ways. What one thing could I do differently today to get me closer to my money goal? Just start. And remember, you're not trying to get from point A to point B in one step. You're trying to get closer every day, every day. Or it could be, what one thing could I add, or what one thing could I give up in my daily routine that's no longer serving me that I could replace with a new money-making activity to get me closer to my goal?
Those are two beautiful pieces right there of things that we can make a choice.
Yes.
Again, the Dharma is the purpose. What is our
Yes.
purpose?
Yes.
What is our discipline?
Yes.
I love that. Carol, thank you.
This
You
has been
are
fun.
so fabulous. It was like, yes, I like her. She's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I like you too, and I've had fun, and I really hope that I've been able to pour into your audience. I'm going to give your audience the most powerful of all empowering questions. It's going to sound simple, but if you put this out to the universe and out to God 6 to 8 times a day out loud, consistently, remember, you're not trying to figure the answer out. And I want you to just start asking, what else is possible?
Mm-hmm.
What else is possible?
That's it, huh?
That's it. I have so many client stories. If we had an hour, I could show you how that one question alone, when asked on a consistent basis, and not being, the key is you cannot be tied to the outcome. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're in a jar, right? We think our answers, our solutions have to look a certain way. They have to show up so that we can see them.
Mm-hmm.
That's being attached to the outcome. Quick story. I know we're running out of time, but I got to tell you this one. It's powerful. I don't share this with all audiences. I'm being really candid with you. There was a man who died and he went to heaven, and he's walking down a long hallway with St. Peter. And on either side of the hall, there's doors with people's names. I don't know if I shared this with you, Leslie, but if I do, don't give my story away. And there's names on, and this guy's really excited. He's in heaven, right? He says, St. Peter, do I have a door? Do I have a door? And he's keep walking. So the guy keeps walking. They finally get to his door, and St. Peter flings it open, and it is this cavernous room. And it's filled from floor to ceiling with packages and boxes and bags of all sizes and shapes and colors. And he looks at St. Peter and he's like, what is all of that? And St. Peter said, oh, those are all the gifts that God had to give you while you were on earth that you never received because they didn't look like what you thought they should look like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You see, so often we're holding on so tightly to what we think is ours. And this really comes to money as well as other things in our life. I want you to think about this because we talked about money today. Oftentimes we're trying to hold on so tightly to what we think is ours that our hands aren't open to receive all that God in the universe has to give us. Loosen your grip. Loosen your grip.
Bam, mic drop right there.
No more stories, Carol. No more stories.
That was fabulous. That's an awesome ending right there. That is so good. So Carol, you do have a gift for our audience.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
So
I'm gonna say I have another gift.
Yeah, one more gift. They can at least meet you,
Yes.
get to know you. Like I said, Beauty Dharma is about me sharing my people, my clients. Some are clients, some are new friends. Just really allowing us to elevate beauty
Yes.
into our life in every area, whether it's
Yes.
a book, whether it's a conversation, whether it's about us getting to know people that elevate us in our lives. So share with them what you are offering to our viewers here.
The first thing I'm going to offer is to come join me in my Facebook group. The link will be in the email. It's the Year with No Fear group, just Year with No Fear, where you're going to learn tips and tools and strategies and tactics to create 2021 to be the best year you've ever had. And you can step into it courageously. One of the things I'm doing for your audience, and I actually just went and put it on my calendar, it's called a Clarity to Cash call. And there's a link in the email. Come join me. I'm going to give you a complimentary call. And from this call, you'll have two things. One, you'll know exactly what's standing in your way of having everything you say you want to have. And number two, you'll have an idea of a strategic action plan. We will talk about how to put an action plan in place to get you over that hump, if you will, or to get you unstuck so that you can have the life you always wanted. And it's going to include the money that you've always wanted to make. Right? And your dreams. It's a clarity to cash call. And we're going to reframe those things that are keeping you from having everything that you say you want.
Nice. That's very generous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank you, Carol. I'm sure we'll have more conversations, more interviews. So I want to just share with everyone that there is so much more to come. And it's just been a beautiful journey of all 22 speakers. And we will see you on the next session of Beauty Dharma and Live Life Beautifully. Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank you.
Carol.
It's been
Bye.
a pleasure.